everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week for January 12th through the 19th, 2025. Excited to be back creating a video on the astro weather for this next week. We're going to talk about all of the biggest transits and what to expect day by day. We're going to track the moon and see what's going on. And obviously, the major headline for this week will be Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces. If you guys like my content and you want to see more of it, click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel, make sure you're alerted as to when I have new videos coming out. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot, astrology, and the Sabian symbols, trying to make sense of what is going on in the cosmos. Do me a favor and give me a thumbs up if you like this video, consider sharing, and also leave me a comment below and let me know what you're committing to with this transit this week. Where is it conjunct in your natal chart, and what are you anticipating is likely to happen? We got so much stuff going on. We are going to be seeing, obviously, Mercury continuing in Capricorn. We're going to be seeing Venus conjunct Saturn. We are also going to be seeing lots of transits that are going to be giving us some insight into what we're going to be committing to more so in the spring. Now, when Venus conjunct Saturn, serious matters kind of come up in regards to finances or relationships. And this is the first one we're going to see actually while Venus is in Pisces. We're going to see another one when we have Venus turn retrograde in March. So you might want to take note of what's happening with this conjunction. It's also a great time for long-term planning. Be that financial, relationships, anything in regards to some of your health or beauty goals. You're going to want to find where Pisces is in your chart. And if you guys stay tuned to the end, I'll take you through the 12 rising signs and give you some tips on how to navigate this conjunction. But basically, the theme with Venus conjunct Saturn is Venus, planet of love, money, relationships, also values, in conjunction to Saturn, which creates a boundary, a commitment, or something serious is on the line. So commitment and serious relationships is going to be a theme. It might be more of a relationship theme for some signs rather than others, but this conjunction really emphasizes a need for stability, maturity, and commitment in relationships. So it can bring like a sobering perspective to love, where one might feel like the need to evaluate the depth of a relationship and the purpose of your connection to another person. It's also going to be bringing up themes revolving around emotional restraint versus depth. In Pisces, Venus is all about love, compassion, and emotional depth. But Saturn here, it's got this influence where it's really about introducing us to an element of restraint or caution or even fear when it comes to vulnerability. So it can lead to a deeper, though sometimes more challenging exploration of what love means to you. Now, obviously, Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces, so we're going to be seeing themes revolving around what is love. Is this real? Can I rely on it? Are they being honest? Or am I sacrificing too much here? So these are some things we might want to marinate on during this transit. Now, there will be a focus on finances. That's because Venus rules money, and with Saturn, there's a call for financial discipline or some kind of reassessment. So it might mean that you're kind of tightening your purse strings or making long-term financial plans while this conjunction is playing out. I love this for artistic discipline. So if you're a creator or a writer, or if you're into film or anything expressive, Venus going through Pisces is a beautiful transit. She's exalted here and can really feel into some of her creativity. But when she's conjuncting Saturn, there is this need for structure. So there could be like long periods of intense creative work or, focusing on mastery and perfection, rather than her typical kind of free-flowing creative energies. Now, Saturn is the Lord of karma, okay? And we are going to see lots of Saturn stuff over the next couple of months. North Node conjunct Saturn, Saturn moving closely with Neptune. We're also going to see that Venus will go retrograde and be making these conjunctions several times. So there's this sense of dealing with karmic debts or lessons when it comes to love and relationships or even finances, where past behaviors or patterns can definitely come under scrutiny for resolution or for growth. Now, what does it mean for you personally? It's possible some of you guys might find yourself drawn to relationships that offer substance over something that's more superficial. And it may be a moment of long-term commitments or reassessing current ones. This transit can also challenge you to confront your fears or any insecurities when it comes to love, self-worth, or pushing for personal growth. And I think that this is going to be probably the biggest lesson for most of us with this conjunction several times over. Now, collectively, on a broader scale, this transit could manifest as a time where society is reflecting on values in relationship, maybe art, maybe money, and it can be a collective push towards more meaningful and ethical or sustainable practices in these areas. Now, what I'm anticipating is going to happen for a lot of people is reaching a significant turning point where it leads us to a deeper commitment or realization about what is not sustainable. It's possible that financial decisions that require long-term planning or restraint are going to come up this week. If you're starting a creative project, take your time, allow yourself several weeks or months to be able to complete it and really commit to that project. Focus on quality over quantity. There will be emotional lessons for some where you're learning to balance vulnerability with self-protection. Now, for the collective, I think we're going to see some big trends that are going to be coming up in art that might lead towards the profound or classical, with a real emphasis on craftsmanship, because Saturn is going to be about creating like that perfect piece of art and taking your time and really putting your all into it. We may also see economic policies and discussions centering around stabilizing financial systems or addressing issues pertaining to debt. There will be a collective examination of society's values, particularly around care, compassion, and commitment for those who are less fortunate or in need. Now, the best way to work with a Venus-Saturn conjunction is just embrace maturity. I think really take stock in what you love and what you value and be willing to kind of step up to the plate and maybe make commitments or sacrifices for the things and people that you love. Take time to reflect on your values and ask yourself what's really important to you. Do I want to keep this? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to donate it? And also in Pisces, is there somebody who could benefit from this more than myself? Is there something that I'm holding on to that I don't need anymore that I could be generous and give to somebody who's in need? Do set boundaries though, especially since we'll see this aspect several times. Boundaries in love, boundaries with finances, and define what you're willing to give and receive in relationships or in your creative pursuits without losing your sense of compassion. Make time and prioritize strengthening your commitments. If you feel a relationship or a project has potential, put the work into it to make it last, and Saturn will reward you if you are responsible with this transit. This is great for healing emotional wounds. It can definitely bring up past emotional wounds to the surface for healing. So practices like therapy or journaling, maybe even meditation, can be really beneficial in letting some of those things go. Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces for me in a nutshell is if you love something, set it free. If it comes back to you, it's meant to be, right? Because Saturn's all about karma. And do make time to really focus on your finances this week. Look at them with a long-term view. Focus on, what would be a good time to start saving or investing wisely or addressing any debts that you want to take care of. All right, so we're going to start with Sunday. So let's take a look and see what we've got going on here for all of you guys who are watching on Sunday. Happy Sunday to my Sunday crew. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to be waking up on Sunday morning and the moon is in Cancer. So the moon's at home in its own sign. We are feeling the vibes of that incoming full moon in Cancer, and right off the bat, the moon is going to come into a trine with Venus. So honestly, kind of loving the vibes today. A little bit more comfy at home with family, relaxing, doing some of our domestic stuff. And the moon making contact by trine to Venus brings about beauty, love, harmony, kind of rest, recuperation, hanging out and being behind the scenes. Obviously, we've got this stellium of planets that are going to be moving through Pisces, so it's going to make us feel like we kind of want to kick back, watch our movies or Netflix, meditate, recuperate, kind of gear up for this next week. But it's a really nice energy, I think, with some of those trines to Venus. Now, where it gets a little tricky is that now the moon is going to come into an opposition with Mercury. Okay, and Mercury in Capricorn's like, stick to the plan, get your work done, focus on responsibilities. We've got things we need to kind of get organized and get set up. Obviously, Mercury has a connection to the South Node now that is in Virgo. So we might feel like we're kind of being pulled in two different directions, where part of us is like, I just want to relax and be on the couch and do nothing, or I just want to hang out with my dogs or my kids, or, get the house in order. But your mind, right, Mercury, your mind is on business, it's on work. There can be like almost like a sense of like dreading Monday. I don't know if you guys are feeling that this morning, but I think some people can be kind of like dreading going back to work because they're really loving this Venus trine moon where, you know, there's lots of downtime and pleasure and relaxation, and we're like, oh, but there's so much work to do, you know, tomorrow, or so many things that's on your mind that you need to get done. The moon's also about our emotional landscape. So with the moon in Cancer, we're very sensitive, we're tapped in, we're feeling intuitive, we're feeling also like we just want to be safe and comfortable. And there is something outside of ourselves, or a conversation, maybe an email, you know, something that comes in that kind of like disrupts us a little bit. So, you know, try not to let that rock your boat. Lean more so into the moon coming into a trine with Venus and Saturn, where if we practice kindness, compassion, sensitivity, and also maybe even putting something off until Monday. It might be that you're like, you know what, I'm enjoying my weekend. I'm going to have my Sunday. I will respond to that email, you know, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. You're going to have to feel like you have to decide between your Capricorn area of your life and your Cancer area of your life. And that's going to be happening pretty much first thing in the morning. And then we're going to see also happening today, Mars is in a trine with Neptune. Yet another indication that, you know, we're supposed to be focusing on resolving things, dissolving things, letting things go, practicing sensitivity, thinking before we take any, you know, forward motion or forward action. Mars is now retrograde back in Cancer. It is at a Gemini degree, so there's going to be lots of reviewing and rethinking where we live, what's going on with our home, what's going on with our emotions, what's going on with our family, and the past. Unfortunately, this is yet another prediction that I had that came to fruition. I told you guys that the Mars in Cancer retrograde was going to be house fires, that we were going to see a huge prominent kind of focus on house fires because it's quite literal to Mars in Cancer. You know, this last week, it's been really hard to watch some of the stuff that's been going on in LA. I lived in LA for 15 years. And to some extent, I feel really grateful for the time that I had there. And a lot of my friends and even some of my family still live in Southern California. And upon filming this, just a couple days before this goes live, literally, you know, 6 or 7 of my closest friends in Los Angeles have all had to evacuate, which is really sad. For them and their families, I feel like I wish there was more that I could do. And I know there's a lot of other people who are in similar situations who might have friends or families, or you guys might live there. But I'm wondering if the Mars trine Neptune is going to be this reevaluation of, okay, you know, what is going to happen with this situation? You know, are people going to be able to, you know, find safety and security? Are they going to be able to have support that's kind of coming in? And whether that's, you know, water, Neptune, whether this is going to be churches and hospitals and public spaces and things that are providing, you know, care and shelter. Also, I think about animals. You know, I saw that there was a lot of stuff that was coming up where I think it was like the Rose Bowl and several other places were, you know, taking in horses, and animal shelters that are taking in animals that have been affected by this. I think it's going to get a lot of people thinking about where they live and whether or not they want to continue living where they're living. And this is not isolated specifically to Los Angeles, but that is part of the Mars retrograde. With Mars trine Neptune, it's about us kind of going either emotionally deep or like literally digging into our homes or things and figuring out what we can give or what we're willing to sacrifice or give up to help those who are in need. So if you're living in those areas, if you can help people, you know, it would be a wonderful way to kind of be like, hey, I can donate bedding, I can donate clothing, I can donate dog food. I'd be willing to open my home, you know, to friends or family who might need a place to stay. But this is going to be a theme that's going to happen throughout this Mars retrograde, really between now and like April until Mars fully kind of moves back into Leo. We're going to see, I think, a lot of people that are going to be displaced, and displaced because of flooding, Saturn, Neptune, displaced because of storms, that's Pisces, displaced because of fires, destruction, and unfortunately a continuation of issues revolving around break-ins, looting, you know, burglaries. There's going to be a whole string of this stuff because Mars is like the attacker. So keep your eyes peeled, be very careful if you live in areas where there is a lot of brush. Be really careful with leaving ovens and stoves on and anything revolving around open flames, because this energy is still, I think, high. And I think that this is also going to be bringing up more discussions, because it's at 27, about conversations and communications in regards to what happened, what happened with the water limits, what happened with how the city managed to handle things. Certainly Saturn in Pisces is going to be about responsibility or their lack of. And I remember telling you guys that we would see in this last week that there would be a big resignation, and that happened. It was Trudeau. And then I said to you, as Venus starts getting close to Saturn, you're going to start seeing people who are going to be very critical of women. Very hard on women. Okay, look at what's going on with the LA mayor right now. You've got people that are just all over her case, and I think rightfully so. And you're also seeing lots of criticism about the LA Fire Department chief, who also happens to be a woman. So we'll see more of some of these themes with Venus conjunct Saturn. It may play out as women in charge and people being critical. It may also be some really big turning points that's going to be happening with money, because Venus is connected to Uranus in Taurus, which is retrograde. At the end of the month, we're going to see Uranus go direct. So this can also be sudden realizations of, where there is lack of funds, lack of support, something that's not being covered, insurance that's not being covered, things that we value that suddenly go missing, or some kind of twists and turns that can be happening with financial situations. So you guys got to watch that. That's going to be a theme for the rest of the month. All right, so with Mars trine Neptune, hot water, steam baths, hot tea, saunas, this would be great, especially if you're dealing with some heavy emotions. Lots of people are sick right now. I'm hearing that as well. Lots of people who are telling me that they're having pneumonia, they have RSV, nasty colds. I mean, obviously we've had some brutal weather in parts of the United States over this last week. So Pisces is the immune system, guys. All right. I need you guys to hydrate. You need to be taking, all of your vitamins and minerals, ideally getting rest, getting sleep. And also considering saunas or soaking or hot baths or steam showers. Anything, Pisces is connected to the immune system and also the lymphatic system. So, dry brushing, red light therapy, all these things can be really helpful if you're feeling under the weather, to kind of help you boost that. And if you're not feeling so hot, I think Venus trine Saturn, as well as the moon trine Venus as well as Saturn, can be getting the support that we need from our home, from our family, or being, of support to other people. So there's lots of goodies that can kind of happen in some of the transits today, just leading up to the full moon. Now this is going to take us into Monday. So Monday will be the 13th, and this is going to be the day of the full moon. All right. So right off the bat, when we wake up on the 13th, the moon is finishing her trine to Saturn, where there's been some emotional commitments, maybe letting things go, clearing things out, making peace with things. I think so much about Pisces is about surrendering, and that can be like literally surrendering in a situation and being like, okay, I give up, or I'm letting this go, I'm done. Or it can be surrendering and accepting and acknowledging that something has come to an end. So I think about the moon as it's coming into the full moon, which will be at 23 degrees. There's going to be a trine to Neptune and a conjunction to Mars. And there's no easy way to put this. This is a pretty gnarly moon. I remember looking at all of the new and full moons last year when I started putting together my content for YouTube in 2025. And I was like, this is the first full moon of 2025 kicks off with a bang. Maybe this would be gnarlier if the North Node was still in Aries, but it's not. Now the North Node is in Pisces, so we're shifting into a feminine, Neptunian kind of vibe for the next 18 months, which is about kindness, compassion, healing, releasing, letting go. But the darker side of Pisces is how that affects us psychologically, how that disrupts our sleep, how that freaks us out and maybe makes us afraid of making necessary change. And it's also going to be about our connection to the divine. It's going to be about our faith. It's going to be about our belief systems. So that moon coming into a full moon, so that's going to be, we'll catch the trine to Saturn early in the morning, and then you're going to see the full moon at 23 degrees, which is a Uranian degree. 23 is always kind of like where something escalates. It's like a rocket taking off, or something blows up, or there can be like electrical issues. So I'm anticipating that there is going to be this like peak energy around the 13th that is going to be revolving literally around these fires. And could it materialize in, people you know, having more home damage, maybe. I hope not, but it could. It could also manifest as there being a lot of like, you know, angry tears, conflict, frustration, you know, issues revolving around home and families and some domestic strife that's just kind of built into the conjunction with Mars. So even though the full moon's going to be happening in the afternoon hours, you're going to see right after that, the moon will then trine Neptune and conjunct Mars. And that's going to be happening right around the evening. So Monday night, this full moon is still kicking. We've got mutual reception between Moon and Mars. And essentially what this means is like, you know, with this conjunction that you're seeing, there is a need to break away from the past. There's a need to clean out something. There's a need to have an emotional release. So if you find yourself more sensitive, frustrated, feeling like you need a good cry on Monday night, it would not surprise me. And as these two kind of come together, they're going to be trining the North Node. So it's going to say, okay, we will let this go. We're going to wash it away. It's also going to be trining Neptune, which means actually the most compassionate thing that we can do is just cut and release, let something go. Acknowledge that, you know, maybe we do need a rest, or maybe we are exhausted, or maybe we are frustrated. I think that, you know, this lunation in a nutshell, it emphasizes like emotional connections. Obviously Cancer is home and family, but emotions running high, and there may be this emotional release or some kind of resolution because it's a full moon. So it's an excellent time for like nurturing relationships or dealing with domestic matters, but realize that it's more about finishing something up or going back to something, or maybe, you know, we're finally dealing with like an old emotional wound that needs to be kind of tended to. So expect high sensitivity, but also opportunities for emotional healing. Yeah, passion, anger, frustration, destruction. I mean, these are all, I think, keywords that are kind of connected to Mars. And I think that just in the wake of some of these fires, it's like it's really hitting home. Now the Sabian symbol, because this is going to be happening at 23 degrees and change, will be 24 degrees. And if you guys didn't catch that video that I did on the Pisces full moon, the Cancer full moon, you should check it out. But Pisces 24 is an inhabited island. The theme is adaptability. The symbol speaks to self-containment, self-sufficiency, having everything you need to function independently, ready and available at hand. It speaks to the skill in organizing resources for their maximum and most profitable use. The image of an inhabited island emphasizes and it stresses the importance thoroughly of analyzing the potential usefulness of everything that can be found at hand in any situation. In practical terms, this degree is about learning how to adapt and looking at things in a different way, being willing to make do. At its highest, it represents inventiveness, creativity, and the ability to find clever or novel ways to get a job done. Watch for selfishness, self-indulgence, and egocentric isolation. The accent is on self-sufficiency. You may find a way to do it yourself today. Your greatest advantage lies in your ingenuity to create what you need from things that you already have, to get rid of presumptions. A thing is what it does. Guard against trying to be too independent or telling yourself you don't need help from anyone. Avoid cutting yourself off from people who won't let you have it all your own way. Learn to cooperate. It's interesting that like Mars is this planet that's very linear, and it's like, okay, get out of my way. I'm going to be first. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it myself. And with the full moon being conjunct Mars retrograde, it's really highlighting like emotionally, it's not going to serve us to react that way or to behave that way, that we're having to rethink some of our emotions and recognizing and realizing that it's okay to ask for help, that we don't have to go at life alone, and that if we're in a situation where things are difficult, we can also use that kind of emotional frustration, you know, to be able to have the motivation to find a way forward and to like, you know, do something ourselves if we don't have support. Anyway, so it's about being able to adapt. Mars will be at this degree again. Okay, so that's something else to kind of think about. So when you know, we look at the full moon that's going to happen at 23, I'm thinking of like 23 to about 26, because that's where Mars is when the full moon comes in. Mars will be back there. So we might see reactivations of this full moon that might be coming up around January 21st through the 24th. and then again around April 1st through the 4th, 2025. So you might want to make a note of those dates, because we're going to be seeing themes of doing it yourself, and that could be taking care of your home, building a home, developing something in a home. Maybe it's just going to be in the Cancer area of your chart where you're going to see these themes coming back up again about how you need to get things emotionally straight before you, proceed forward. All right, so post full moon, these two are trining Neptune. A lot of people, I think at the end of the day on Monday, are going to be like, I need a stiff drink, or I just need to relax or unwind. And so obviously art, music, film, is very much Pisces. Anything that's going to give you the ability to kind of relax and escape. Just manage, substances and anything like that, because with so many planets in Pisces, it's really easy to kind of slip back into some of our old, habits of drinking or anything in regards to drugs or, oversleeping or just binge watching. Try to manage what you guys are doing in a healthy way, because there's going to be so many emotions that are going to be flying around. I think it's going to be a lot for some people. All right, so the moon's going to keep moving. Let's see, let's get rid of this. The moon's going to keep moving, and that's going to now take us into the 14th, which is Tuesday. And when we wake up in the morning, the moon's now in Leo, so the full moon is over. However, first thing in the morning, that moon is going to come into an opposition with Pluto. So it's almost like there was something brewing on Saturday, Sunday, going into Monday, and then it's like Tuesday, different vibe. We are now in a moon transit that deals with passion, creativity, self-expression, romance, fun, and play. And the sun is hanging out in Capricorn. This is the ruler of Leo. Now, Sunday, Monday, the sun was trine Uranus, which means there was some changing of circumstances. It played out pretty legitimately, in my opinion. The sun was in, a sign that deals with leadership, and it was trining Uranus, which means, hey, there's some change in direction with leadership and physical goods, whether this is building, developing, food, resources, money. And it happened. The Biden administration came out and said that they are going to be covering the costs, i.e. the taxpayers, but they're going to be covering the cost for the rebuild of the damaged portions of Los Angeles. I'll save my comments, but I mean, it was quite literal. So now we've got the moon that's going to be in opposition to Pluto early in the morning. So there is some emotional tension going into Tuesday morning if you're up early. But that hanging around Sun trine Uranus means that we are adapting, we're being flexible, we're trying to find new ways to kind of build a path forward, especially when it comes to money, resources, self-esteem. So it might feel like a bit of a productive day, to be honest with you, because the sun's in nice aspect. And then I'm also looking at, with the sun being in Capricorn, this building opposition to Mars. So right after the full moon for a couple days, you're going to now see Mars retrograding back, starting to oppose the sun. And this is going to bring some fierceness. This is going to bring perhaps all the mama bears out, or, family members out that are going to be, a little disgruntled, or, dealing with issues with roommates and, issues revolving around responsibility. There will be some tension that's going to kind of heat up midweek. I think with, the sun in Capricorn starting to come into opposition with Mars, I look at Saturn as the dispositor, right? So Saturn is connected to the sun. And then we've got this opposition. And with Saturn, coming into conjunction with Venus, I think we're going to see themes like criticizing women because of Venus-Saturn, lack of support or guidance. Also themes revolving around water, Pisces. So why wasn't there enough water? Are we going to have enough water? Quality and health in regards to water. These are going to be the topics that are going to be, I think, all over the news this next week. And then you'll start seeing the sun coming into a sextile with Neptune as well. Thankfully, this is a harmonious aspect. So with the moon, being connected to the sun in Capricorn, where there's going to be themes about responsibility, work, and leadership, the sun trines Uranus, where we can make change, the sun starting to come into a sextile with Neptune, which is offering compassion, first and foremost, sensitivity, also inspiration, introspection. I think we're going to feel more in tune with our dreams or our intuition or our spiritual side. And it's also a day where you just might catch yourself daydreaming a little bit more, you know, about purpose or setting intentions or engaging in activities that kind of blend practical Capricorn, you know, with imaginative Pisces. Now, you will start to see as the moon goes through Leo today, I guess on Tuesday, it'll start coming into in conjunct with Mercury. Okay, so that's going to be in the PM, and a sextile to Jupiter. So not the best communication on Tuesday night. However, you know, it can be great for creative writing, for learning, you know, communicating with romantic partners, with children, but not a lot of getting things done in the PM hours, you know, kind of feeling at odds with work responsibilities and kind of like the daily grind. All right, so what I do like though is that with Venus in Pisces, so she throughout the day has been in a square actually to Jupiter. There we go. So this could also mean that there's like themes revolving around overdoing it. Venus square Jupiter. It's not a terrible transit, but we can overdo something. And what I like about Venus in Pisces, you know, in a superior square to Jupiter in Gemini. So this is communication with, you know, neighbors, our communities, connecting and learning from one another and like being a part of our communities or our neighborhood. Venus in the superior square is saying, let me help you, right? So a lot of this is going to be like, do we know our neighbors? Are we being kind to our neighbors? Are we treating people the way that we want to be treated? Are we going the extra mile? Especially if you have neighbors or people in your community that might be foreign, or people who might be new to the neighborhood, or people who might be older that you don't know very well. Yes, overspending, overindulging, you know, certainly over drinking, over romanticizing, we can see with this square on Tuesday. But I think it's about enhancing connection to our community, and it's also about helping those in need. And I think Venus squaring Jupiter, and Jupiter is the dispositor, can actually bring an opportunity for inspiring words, acts of kindness, or some very significant dreams. So watch for that on Tuesday night, okay? All right, so we're going to continue on now. We're going to start to see the moon come into in conjunct with Mercury at night, and this is going to take us now into the 15th. And this is Wednesday. So Wednesday, the sun is still in Capricorn, the moon is still in Leo. All right, so they're kind of now going to come into an in conjunct at some point. So there's something to be reconciled between maybe our passions, our creativity, our playtime, our romantic lives, you know, our hopes and dreams versus the harsh reality of what we're having to kind of get done. And we're going to see, in terms of positive transits with the moon will trine Chiron. So this could be a time where we're expressing our emotions with romantic partners. We're doing something creative to kind of help us heal, you know, like art therapy or dance or writing a song or music. Anything like that can be really therapeutic on Wednesday. We will also see, going into the evening hours, the moon's going to come into a square with Uranus. So there's going to be some emotional tension between, you know, what we feel like we can or cannot afford emotionally or financially versus what we want to do. So, you know, watch your spending habits, I think, on Wednesday, especially after Jupiter and Venus square. This can be a time that's like, okay, we overindulged a little bit, and then we're like, okay, the stress that came from that unexpected expense are kind of going ham with indulgences. We will also see the Sun-Mars opposition happen on Wednesday. Okay, so let me show you this. It's at 26. So it is going to happen later in the evening, but the sun's going to hit 26. Mars is going to hit 26, and they're going to oppose. Truth be told, you could be feeling this, you know, from the full moon on. So it just happens exactly on Wednesday. Sun in opposition to Mars. Oppositions are a Martian energy, right? It's kind of like trying to kind of get you to kind of force something or push something. And unlike the square, I do feel like there is more resistance. So it does have like a Saturn quality to it. That's like, okay, we're trying to kind of force something to happen, or we're dealing with something outside of ourselves. And it does create some kind of need to balance the two opposing forces and kind of meet in the middle. So with Mars retrograde in Cancer, we're reevaluating our emotions, our home, our family situations. Maybe we're looking at, you know, the damage of what's happened after the fires. And then the opposition to the sun in Capricorn is going to be talking about conflict that's coming up over leadership, finances, support, resources. This is happening at a Taurus degree, banking. And connections being made between homes and banks, insurances, mortgages. And then we've got Mercury in conjunct Jupiter, which is, I think, a big deal because Jupiter is the North Node ruler and the South Node ruler. So we've got, you know, people in positions of power, people in government, public officials, leaders, captains, you know, military leaders that are not seeing eye to eye with Jupiter and Gemini. This could be like major news headlines. Okay, here's an example. My husband was just telling me about this. I guess there was like a clip on the news where Gavin Newsom was, you know, either getting in or out of like a car, and he was like on the scene of like all the fires, and like a woman comes through and she confronts him, and she's just like, what are you going to do about this? This is everything that happened. And he was like, I'm on the phone with Biden. And she's like, okay, let's talk to him. And then he was like, oh, I can't get through to him. You know, I've been trying to call him, like calling him on his bluff, basically. Mercury, people in positions of power, not totally telling the truth, Jupiter, or there being some reevaluation or backtracking things that they've said. Jupiter is also laws, by the way. So there's a lot of people who are kind of up in arms talking about the water restriction and also all of the changes that have happened in terms of like the public hiring process, and, you know, people who are put in position that may or may not have been qualified to be in those positions or those roles. So I think we're going to hear more of that. I think that this could be a time where there is some conflict where, you know, people aren't seeing eye to eye, and integrity or truth somehow kind of comes up in the mix because of the quincunx to Jupiter. And then you add that to a sun in opposition of Mars, and this is going to feel like, whoa, are we still in the full moon? Like, what the heck is going on? So yeah, expect there to be lots of talk revolving around money. You know, once again, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, I'm super vocal on X, so if you guys want to see some of my thoughts that I don't always say on YouTube, go and follow me at BTV Astro on X. But the second those fires started out, I was like, okay, what are they trying to build in LA? I was like, this seems a lot like what happened in Hawaii. And there seems to be, if you go and you do your research and you learn more about some of the, you know, 2030 plans for smart cities in places like the South where we had the floods, in places like Hawaii, in places like LA, in some of the more metropolitan areas, it's just a little coincidental that we're starting to see that there is all this natural destruction that's happening in some of the places where they have an incentive to be building and creating some of these smarter cities. And this is at a building degree. So my question is when we start seeing the Mars in opposition to the sun, do people start fighting back, being like, what the hell is going on? You know, maybe, or is it going to be more people defending their homes? I was talking to a friend yesterday who was telling me that, you know, as of supposedly the end of this last week, there's like 6-7 fires now, a bunch of fires that are now breaking out in other areas, and they've lost control of the emergency system where people are getting emergency alerts and they're being told you need to quickly, you know, leave your home, even if they're more than 10 miles away, because there's so many emergency alerts and things that are going out. It's not even the full moon in Cancer yet, and I fully anticipate that there is going to be more, oh my God, emergency situations during that full moon conjunct Mars. We might see that, you know, more people are having to be evacuated in some areas. It's possible. I'd have to go and look at the LA chart, but I do think that I would watch for the conflict and be mindful about your reactions to things. That Mars trine the North Node and Neptune really wants us to be coming to terms with, okay, if it needs to be done, it's done. Or if this is the matter of this, you know, the situation where something has ended or burnt down or something is finished, like it's really difficult, obviously emotionally, losing a home or a family member or a job or a relationship, but coming to terms and accepting and being like, we have to kind of flush stuff out right now is definitely going to be the theme. In terms of the 15th, you're not going to see too much else going on. Just, you know in the PM hours, you're going to hit that moon square Uranus, where there's going to be a little bit of tension that's going to be brewing in the skies. And then we're going to take this to the 16th, which will be Thursday. And we wake up Thursday, and the moon is going to be in the late degrees of Leo, and then it's going to go into Virgo, but it's still picking up that energy of the Mars in opposition to the sun. So Wednesday into Thursday, things are still quite intense. I think I'm going to go on a limb here, but I think it's going to almost feel like a full moon all week, to be honest with you. So then we're going to catch in the later morning, the moon's going to go into Virgo. And this is going to be an interesting thing to watch, guys, because this is the first time that the moon is going to be making contact with the South Node in Virgo since the nodal change that happened around the 11th. So I'm going to be kind of watching and seeing what happens during these transits, because I feel like it's going to give us little glimmers of some of the changes that are going to be happening over the next 18 months. Obviously, you know, when the moon's in Virgo, we focus on health, productivity, organization, being of service. We water the plants, we do our laundry, you know, we feed the cat, all that stuff. So this is definitely a productive energy. And what you will actually find is, I think some of the most beneficial transits are going to be the transits happening from here on out. So things start to get a little bit easier from Thursday on. When that moon goes into Virgo, we're looking at Mercury. Mercury is in Capricorn. And Mercury is starting to form a sextile to Venus, where we can communicate kinder and with much more empathy and understanding, and it's great for business. And then Mercury is going to start sextiling Saturn, which is good for serious commitments, contracts, you know, making long-term plans. And also using our intuition, right? So much about Pisces is like using our intuition to better navigate and make decisions. So I think you guys are going to like those transits for the most part. And we will see throughout the day on Thursday, the moon's not really doing too much with the Pisces placements yet. We wake up on Friday, though, the 17th, and some things are happening. So it's going to be a little bit of like a complex T-square here, first thing in the morning on Friday, where the moon's going to square Jupiter. So you want to know that we're going to be probably feeling like we're you know, being pulled in different directions. Whenever the moon squares Jupiter, we can feel more sensitive, more reactionary. We can have more emotions, change of emotions, and they can be pretty dramatic. And then we're going to see the moon then trine Mercury. So your goal here, I think Thursday and Friday, is to stay on your routines. Be consistent, eat well, sleep well, get your work done, work out a little bit, you know, focus on staying on task. And if you can do that, you're not going to get kind of thrown around by the mood swings with moon square Jupiter. And then you're going to see moon trine Mercury right around midday, which is good for business meetings on Friday. I think good for commitments, good for communication. The only problem is that then the moon is going to come into opposition with Venus. So it's going to be like, hey, we want to help, we want to work together, we want to plan, but where are you? And sometimes Moon-Venus oppositions, they leave us wanting more. So there could be like, we have a meeting, it's really productive. And then it's like, okay, great. Why don't you think about it over the weekend? Get back to me on Monday. You know, we'll reconnect. You could see stuff like that. You're like left on a cliffhanger, you know, in some way on Friday. And then we're going to see the moon come into opposition with Saturn. So it's difficult because there's this sense where, you know, some people are going to be going through things with Venus conjunct Saturn. They're going to go through financial things, relationship things. There's going to be things that they're keeping to themselves, that they're working through, stuff that can be painful. And we're going to have people who are going to show up, who are going to be, I mean, you know, doctors, therapists, you know, Virgo vets, people who are like, what do you need? How can I help you? You know, it's going to be a very, very busy Friday, I think, for a lot of people in the mental health kind of field, or people who are in the service kind of industry, because people are going to be like, oh my God, you know, I got this haircut, it was terrible, Venus Saturn, can you fix it? Or I've got some, you know, pressing financial situation, you know, can I get in and see somebody at the bank today? And it's going to be at like 3 p.m. on Friday. So watch for the people who are in need, and also watch to be able to, you know, receive support. If you reach out and you tell people with that Mercury moon trine, hey, I need help, can you help me? You will find the right people. If you're not connecting, communicating, or if you're kind of keeping to yourself, you're isolating yourself, then you're going to be kind of doing yourself a disservice. So reach out if you need some kind of help of some kind. Then we're going to see the moon keep moving. It'll come out of an opposition with Saturn. So it almost looks like some people are going to be given some deadlines on Friday to fulfill, to get something done within a certain period of time. Or they're like, we need to make the transfer within a certain period of time. Or you have until the end of the day to, turn in your work, or until the end of the day to get back to me. So you can see some ultimatums, especially because this is all to 15, 15, 15, 15. And then the moon's going to keep moving. And it comes out of all of that mutable mess, basically. Take the lead on Friday with Moon trine Mercury. Be assertive. Be like, I've got it. I'm going to handle it. It's done. This is what I'm going to do. Because if we don't do that, things are going to fall through the cracks with some of that Moon in opposition to Venus and Saturn. And also, you're going to see things like at work where you're going to be like, oh, so-and-so is out sick, or, they're dealing with a loss in the family, or, something happened. So we're not going to actually be able to meet today. You're going to hear some of that stuff that's going to happen on Friday too. But with Moon trine Mercury, it's like, be assertive and direct and be like, I totally understand. Mercury, sextile Venus and Saturn. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. We'll get this rescheduled. Still follow up, basically, is what I'm getting at. Am I missing anything? No, I think that's pretty much it. So this is now going to take us into, there we go. It's going to take us into the 18th, which is going to be Saturday. And this is the day that I'm watching because the moon will conjunct the south node. We will also see the moon trine Uranus. So, we're waking up on Saturday and we're like, okay, we can make change. We're adapting, we're making shifts. This might be a day where you feel called to organize something, clean something out, focus more on your health. There might be changes going on at work or changes going on with scheduling. Maybe you're picking up a shift or trading shifts, or maybe you're working on the weekend when you wouldn't typically do that. And you're also going to see the moon come into opposition with Neptune, which makes us incredibly sensitive, a little dreamy, a little creative. But, I feel like this is going to be such an interesting day to watch with the North Node conjunct Neptune and the South Node conjunct Virgo. I think Virgos are really going to have a difficult time with this one because the nodes are connected to the moon. So when the moon comes into conjunction, for example, like this with the South Node, there is an emotional clearing and realizing and recognizing, hey, this does not emotionally serve me. This is not good for me. This is not healthy. And that could be how you're living, how you're working, how you're eating. And Mercury is the connection here, and Mercury is also the culprit. So are you thinking too much about work? Are you worrying too much about who's responsible for something? Are you overdoing it? And then North Node conjunct Neptune is like, we're actually supposed to be sleeping, resting, letting things play out, letting the chips fall where they may, not hyper focusing on perfection and productivity. So watch what happens on Saturday. Of course, I work Saturday, so I'm going to be really curious to see what happens here for me personally, because that's going to give me some insight in terms of my work habits. And Venus and Saturn are there too. They're kind of nuzzling up next to each other, right? So we're going to start to see the emphasis on where we're all going collectively, Pisces, kind of dreamland, sensitivity, unraveling, and then the South Node in Virgo, which is like letting go of old outdated habits. One thing we will see happening, which is a good transit on Saturday, is Mercury begins the sextile to Venus and Saturn. So with Mercury in sextile to Venus in Pisces, I think that this is an aspect that kind of blends logic and compassion, and also making an excellent day for communication and relationships, creative endeavors, anything requiring a balance of like the heart and the mind. And conversations can feel more heartfelt, more creative. Creative projects might benefit from, a little bit of like beauty and kindness as well on this day. And then we've got Venus that's conjuncting Saturn. So that's, I think one of the bigger transits of the week personally. And with Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces, like I said, maturity in love and money, right? Committing to relationships, committing to something that is bigger. And that commitment might require a sacrifice. It may also be a moment to reflect on what you truly value, and it could lead to more serious commitments or reassessments of love and money. Really good for long-term planning. So like if you're somebody who is trying to budget for the year, if you're somebody who's planning, a major trip, if you're wanting to plan a wedding, if you are wanting to make a lasting change with your hair or something aesthetic, If you're wanting to talk about getting engaged, if you're wanting to talk about, you know, a business partnership, these are all great things to do under a Venus-Saturn conjunction. However, I'm a little sus about that South Node in Virgo, you know, because I think that with the moon connecting there and Mercury being there, some people are going to be like, you know what, I think this is the year I'm retiring, right? Like I said, Pisces is going to be about surrendering. This is the year that I realize, you know what, I cannot, you know, continue to strive for perfection. You know, perfection is not realistic. I'm just going to kind of like love myself the way that I am, or I'm walking away from a relationship because it's unhealthy. Like we might see some of these themes with the Venus-Saturn conjunction. Now this aspect is going to return again around April. So you're going to see this like actually April 5th through the 26th, that whole month, because Venus will be retrograde conjunct Saturn, then it's going to go direct and it's going to hover there for a lot. So it's possible that, you know, around the 18th, we start putting things in motion that are going to take until the end of April to be fully visible. So take a second, look at your natal chart, pull it up on your app, pull it up on your software, if you have a piece of paper of it, whatever. Look at that house, okay? Now ask yourself, how can I love this house more, right? How can I commit to these things more? P.S. Saturn has been in Pisces for the last like year and a half, almost 2 years. So, you know, we've had plenty of time to get ready with Saturn being in Pisces to prepare for now the North Node there and the eclipses there and the retrogrades there. So now comes that moment where it's like, okay, I'm committed, I'm locked in, we're doing this thing. And the mind has to be on board because Jupiter is the dispositor of all of these planets and it's retrograde. So we've been kind of like two of coins weighing our options. Do I do this? Do I not do this? If I do it, then I have to commit to something, which means I have to let something else go, and like change is scary. But the mutable signs are all about making change. So ask yourself, how can you love that house more? How could you pay more attention to it? How can you nurture it more? What changes do you need to make there? How could you make it healthier, more beautiful? How can you enjoy that particular house more? That's what I would focus on. I think the Virgo moon says show up, be accountable, and get something done, but don't be too hard on yourself and really focus on managing your health and watch for this emotional clearing that's going to happen when the moon conjuncts the South Node. Notice it. Also, look at this. We're going to see the sun and the moon hit 29 at the same time. 29s are about major clearings, major completions, major endings. So South Node moon at 29, trining the sun in Capricorn at 29. It's connecting to Mercury and Saturn, and you know, Saturn is in a Pisces sign. So there is some subconscious clearing maybe going on the 18th. I don't know. Let's look at the Sabian symbol for that Venus-Saturn conjunction. Looks like it's going to be at 16 degrees and change. So that would be 17 of Pisces. And I think I've read this a couple of times for you. Is it officer drilling his men, I think? 17? Oh no, that was 16. So 17 degrees of Pisces is an Easter promenade. The keyword is celebration. The theme is standing out. The symbol speaks to the magnification of self in a very conspicuous and highly individualistic way. The image of an Easter promenade is especially dramatic representation of individual self-expression, and it alludes to vanity and the extreme of the individual will go in order to draw attention to himself. Easter symbolizes a time of rebirth and regeneration, and here it signifies self-renewal and an attempt to present the self in a new light or share new, therefore unrevealed facets of the self with others. On a practical level, it refers to those situations in which an urge to demonstrate some newly acquired skill, progress, and made will win the admiration of others, perhaps in a musical recital, craft, flower, or art show, or public contest. At its highest, it represents an admirable and inspiring dedication to self-improvement. Watch for ostentatiousness, self-display, attention-getting behavior. The accent is on individuality. People may take unusual steps to gain attention today. Your greatest advantage lies in knowing how to showcase your talents. Make sure you're prepared for all contingencies. Appearances will count. Guard against making a fool of yourself in efforts to stand out from the crowd. Avoid extremes in dress or behavior, which is funny because Venus conjunct Saturn is like a very conservative, like kind of like nature in terms of like the way that they dress. Anyway, standing out. I think, I mean, you know, magnifying, putting on a show, being seen, but trying to do it in a way that's like beneficial and like showing how you're bettering yourself. Like not just doing it for appearances or to get likes or recognition or sell a product. It's like, look at what I've been able to do, you know? So we'll see what happens with that conjunction. I mean, it's obviously in a Cancer degree. It's at 16. So it is bouncing off of, you know, Mars, which is retrograding back to a Cancer degree that day. It's also bouncing off of all of the transits that have been going on with the opposition to the moon, which is naturally a Cancer energy. I don't know. I just think that this week is wild, man. And some of this astrology, you're going to see a lot of oppositions and kind of back and forth. So change is afoot with those 29 degrees because that's a critical turning point. In the North Node, sextiles the Sun. The Moon trines the Sun. I want to read to you guys also a little bit about Venus and Saturn because I like the planet combination. So I'm reading Archetypal Universe. So Venus and Saturn, principles, satisfactory relationships and quality time, feelings of responsibility, commitments in one's relationship life, solid working partnerships, blendings of beauty and integrity, relationship tests or cooling of affection, social burdens, responsibilities, feelings of loneliness and fear of reaching out, doubts about one's attractiveness. That definitely happens with Venus conjunct Saturn. So let's see. Urges for security and stability in one's relationship life, working marriages and partnerships, solid connections with mutual respect, stirring the oatmeal type of love, impulses towards loyalty and faithfulness, monogamy and commitment, solidly enduring love, emotional maturity and integrity, consistency of feeling, long-term friendships, quality time, a conscious appreciation of other people's company, and the ability to accept others' faults. Workplace friends, friendly older people, deliberate courtesy, decorum and manners, structured kindness and duty for protecting and providing for one's loved ones, an interplay of love and need, work and play, the enjoyment of one's vocation. All that matters is love and work. Beauty with integrity and substance, charming simplicity, blushing modesty, quality beauty, well-groomed persons, morning ritual in front of the mirror, an enjoyment of solitude, low maintenance emotional needs. I used to dread getting older because I thought I would not be able to do all the things that I want to do, but now that I'm older, I find that I don't want to do them. As a Venus-Saturn person, I feel that. So shadow qualities, obviously, you know, especially in a sign that is changeable, and the North Node is there. So, you know, you can see some shadow qualities kind of coming up with this one. Relationship tests and challenges, feeling romantic boredom or routine, duty and responsibility outweighing the fun, cooling of affection, monogamy as a limitation, I can't mate in captivity, a tendency to measure relationships in terms of benefits and losses, a feeling that using people is the only way to get one's needs met, an ethic of convenience, acute awareness of one's social situation, social duties and burdens, the dissatisfaction of casual contact, courtesy without warmth or intimacy, strained friendships, the need to conform in order to be accepted. The interplay of love and hate, intimacy and separation, the state of sobering up again, holding grudges and not forgiving, emotional and romantic inhibitions, fear of reaching out, feelings of loneliness, melancholy, heart sickness, romantic failure, separation from loved ones, and doubts about one's lovability. Unrealistic needs for attention, appreciation, difficulty in treating oneself, the burden of appearances, excessive sensitivity to small aesthetic problems, the fear of losing one's beauty, doubts about one's attractiveness, the potential to overgroom, bad hair days, cynical attitudes towards beauty, the tyranny of the beauty culture, untouchable, wasted, inhibited beauty, unwanted attraction, sexual pain or guilt, fear of sexually transmitted diseases, sexual boredom, states of disappointment and loneliness, forcing us to open our hearts. This is interesting. The archetypes, star-crossed lovers, Hymus and, what is this? Thisbe, Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde, the absence of the beloved, Penelope, the hag crone archetype. All right, so that's pretty much just giving you guys some more food for thought on like this combination, because you'll see some of these themes, and you'll probably see them in like movies, shows, television, because of the connection to Jupiter. But you can also see this kind of playing out in like your real world too. All right, so that's the Venus-Saturn stuff. For some people, it's going to be good commitments, you know, talking about getting married, getting engaged, long-term investments, business launches. But for other people, it can feel a little heavy. So be mindful that you'll see that kind of come back one more time. All right, so this is going to take us to Sunday now. So Sunday the 19th, when we wake up in the morning, we've got that moon that's now in Libra. So the focus is going to be on Venus. And if you see, Venus is still kind of conjunct Saturn. So I think with like the south node of the moon coming together in Venus conjunct Saturn, there can be a need for more privacy, alone time, isolation. Maybe we're taking space or breaks from people. Maybe we just need more rest, or we're focusing on creating in private. So if you have like a studio or an office or a private room or a meditation space or something, you might just feel like you just want to be alone. You want to be there. You want to be creating and doing stuff there. Doing what? Watching TV, resting, reading, catching up on your shows, you know, because of that connection with Jupiter. But there can also be this feeling of needing to have significant conversations about love or money. I think that, you know, with the moon going through Libra, the Venus-Saturn conjunction could be for a lot of people rearranging their home, redesigning their home, spending time with older female relatives, family heirlooms might be kind of coming up, family money themes might be coming up as well. And the sun will also be entering into Aquarius this day. So it's going to be interesting to see right off the bat, the moon's going to trine Pluto, so it's about some significant emotional change and transformation. With Venus conjunct Saturn, how great would it be to have like a spa day, you know, with your girls on Sunday, or if you've got kids, you know, you're doing like spa treatments and manicures and facial stuff like at home. It could also be a day to go be by lakes or rivers or somewhere. If you can find somewhere that's warm, that's very doable. And moon in Libra is very, very social. So this is a great day for socializing and connecting with other people, or being there, supporting other people who might need something. That might be kind of coming up as well. So we'll see the moon continue to go through Libra. It's going to pick up a trine to Jupiter in the late PM hours. I love Sunday for having like a friends and family dinner. I love Sunday for getting together with friends or loved ones, for hanging out with neighbors, for socializing and connecting. I'm really digging the trines between the moon, Jupiter, and the sun, Pluto. You will hit a small snag when you see the moon come into a square with Mercury, but that looks like it's going to be happening so late that, my goodness, I feel like after this week we've earned a really good kickback day on Sunday. So make plans for Sunday, because you're going to need a day to kind of like, I think, burn off some of the heavier vibes that have happened earlier in the week. Venus Saturn can kind of help us commit and kind of connect to people who are really important to us, and, you know, maybe people who we haven't been reaching out to, or people that we haven't seen, or friends or family that have been having a hard time, or a time where we're reconnecting with them after kind of going through our own stuff all week long. Now that sun's going to enter Aquarius, so it's the official start of Aquarius season. Be mindful that as soon as the sun moves in there, you're going to see it start coming into conjunction with Pluto, which will be playing out pretty much Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. But when the sun's in Aquarius, you know, there is this shift that's putting an emphasis on community. Obviously, innovation, individuality is another theme with Aquarius, and you might be feeling a surge in social activities or a desire to break away from routine, kind of going against the grain. It's like, okay, we're going to do something different now. And you'll really feel that on Sunday with the moon kind of connecting with all of that. And I feel like it can be a time for setting collective goals, or thinking about how you can contribute to a larger project or some kind of larger societal change. Obviously, it's going to be in different parts of your chart, so you're going to want to see where that's kind of playing out. But my goodness, essentially Thursday and Friday are going to be the good business days. They're going to be the good or the better communication days. And definitely plan something for Sunday where you can be social and be with other people. I think it's going to be a good time. But man, the rest of the week, guys, heed my warnings and my advice. Pay close attention to what's going on with that full moon in Cancer. Now, I would like to show you where the Venus-Saturn conjunction is happening for the 12 rising signs. I didn't say this, but I'll say this now. But obviously, if you're a Venus-ruled sign, So if you're a Taurus or a Libra rising, you really need to pay attention to this transit because Saturn is considered a malefic planet. So when Venus meets Saturn, it can be a little bit more challenging for you personally, okay? Or you're hitting a roadblock, or there is a speed bump, or there is some kind of sacrifice you have to make. Versus my Saturn ruled people, so my Capricorn and Aquarius risings, this is a good transit for you because Venus is meeting your chart ruler. So it's going to be bringing you something sweet or something beneficial, most likely. And then we've got Pisces and Pisces rising, where I think it's just going to be more focused on yourself personally, what you're changing within yourself. But yeah, so if you have any personal planets, I would say 15, 16, 17 degrees of Pisces, this is going to be a one that you're really going to want to watch. I will be showing it to you guys from the perspective of the whole sign. So I will start with my Aries and my Aries risings, and then I'll go through the whole bunch. If you're a Placidus user like me, then you need to look at your chart and you need to see where 16 degrees of Pisces is. You might need to listen to more than one rising sign. So see which house this conjunction is going to be landing in for you and listen to the rising sign that is going to correlate with that house. All right. So that being said, we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. So what's up, Aries? You've got Venus coming in conjunction with Saturn, and this is in your 12th house. So to some extent, whatever happens can be spiritual. It can be behind the scenes. It could be involving some stuff you don't see coming, but it can also be very enlightening for you. So the 12th house is about solitude. It's about subconscious. It's also a house of endings. So what you're going to want to watch for is feelings of loneliness or self-doubt. This can emerge. There can be hidden fears about love or beauty that could be surfacing for you. My tip is to use this time for inner work, perhaps through therapy or introspection, meditation, journaling, and recognize that it's time to release these limiting beliefs about love or self-worth, because Venus is connected to these two topics in your chart: relationships and commitment, money, self-worth, and values. And you'll be spending a lot of time here the next couple of months with Venus coming back into this area of your chart and there being some eclipses. So I would really recommend meditating on love. I would recommend healing old, issues in regards to broken hearts, and be mindful that there is like some karmic stuff that's kind of clearing out in regards to relationships and also for you and your relationship with the collective. Let me know what happens, Aries. All right, we got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? So Venus, your chart ruler, is on the move. She is in your 11th house, which is all about your goals, your friends, your connection with networking. And also if you have an audience, an audience that you present things to. It can also be about the money that stems from your job, because this is second house to the 10th. So for Taurus and Taurus risings, what you want to watch for is friendships that might require more effort, or they may feel more burdensome. Group activities might be less joyful and more about duty. And I recommend reevaluating your social circle for those who support your growth, and set or refine goals that require discipline. Venus is not only connected to you in your first house or your body, but it's also connected to your 6th house. So you may have some friends that are going through some challenges with their love life, with their children. They could just feel like they're just a little bit heavier when it comes to connecting and kind of being there for. But there can also be this shift in regards to a new goal or a new focus. And I think for many of you guys, because Jupiter is the dispositor, it's going to be new goals revolving around your finances and growth when it comes to your income. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing Venus conjunct Saturn in your natal 10th house. Well, all eyes on you in regards to your career, Gemini. There's some big things that are kind of heating up, as your 10th house is about your career and your public image. So what you want to watch for with this Venus-Saturn conjunction is, your career might feel more demanding. There might be a need to commit more or to take on a new job or responsibility. Your job may also feel less rewarding or less pleasurable than usual. And your public image is definitely in the spotlight. So it's really important to focus on showing up, being on time, being responsible, and being mature, as people can be a little bit more critical of you at work. Now, you want to focus on your long-term goals, because I feel like for you, this is a time to really prove that you're reliable and that you're professional and that you are the best person for the job. Venus is connected to your hidden talents and your subconscious, as well as your 5th house of creativity. Be mindful of love affairs and things in the workplace because they can be exposed here. So be careful of that. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus conjunct Saturn in your natal 9th house. Now for you, Cancer, this is happening in the part of your chart that deals with higher education, foreign travel, your philosophy, as well as legal matters, maybe publishing, maybe things in regards to mentors or teachers. What you want to watch for with Venus conjunct Saturn is that travel plans might face some obstacles. So like delayed flights or changes to your travel plans or bookings can kind of come up. You can feel less satisfied with the place that you're staying if you're like traveling or going on vacation, or educational pursuits might require more discipline. There can be like a tough love relationship that's going on with like a teacher or a mentor. There can also be themes revolving around in-laws and themes revolving around like legal responsibility or legal fees. Some of you guys might feel like you're having a total change in regards to your fate, or there is some kind of like spiritual crisis that's emerging. I recommend seeking wisdom through structured learning and traveling with purpose, or following some kind of practice, even if it's spiritual, something that is going to be kind of healing and encouraging you to let things go. And I think you're going to be embracing a much more mature approach when it comes to your beliefs. Now, Venus is connected to your 4th house of family and your 11th house of friends. So it's possible that you're seeing kids who are going off to college. Maybe you are, planning for some kind of family trip. Maybe there is some kind of commitment that you're making to a long distance relationship. After all, Venus is conjunct your 7th house Lord. So an important relationship is going to be highlighted with somebody at a distance that can be impacting you legally, spiritually, or in terms of your belief system. So watch for that. We've got Leo and Leo rising. Leo, you've got Venus conjunct Saturn in your natal 8th house. So this transit kind of playing out for you this week is in an interesting part of your chart. Obviously, the part of your chart that deals with taxes, inheritances, joint finances, transformation, all that fun stuff. So the 8th house is like the skeletons in the closet that we have to kind of deal with. So I think about debts that are due, taxes that are due, alimony, spousal support, insurance, investments. These all kind of come through the 8th house. So what you want to watch for is issues revolving around shared finances or intimacy. It might become a little bit more serious, and there can be delays with investments or inheritances or money that's due. I recommend being transparent about your financial or emotional expectations, because this can be a house that's also about intimacy and emotions. And it's possible that this transit can deepen the bond through some kind of shared challenge. So for example, Saturn rules your relationships and also your habits and your daily routine. So maybe, you're opening up to your partner about your fears of changing your job or changing something in regards to your health habits, or, there is this focus on couples therapy or joint therapy or something in regards to working together on a financial matter. It can actually bring you closer with another person. It's going to be interesting to see that happen as the sun is conjuncting Pluto in your 7th house. So it might be that you've got a partner going through something and you're just trying to be there and support them throughout that process. Venus is connected to communication for you. It's also connected to your career, so that you could be having long-term serious conversations with your partner about these things, or you can be making some, big changes in the way that you think about money as well as your work, or some negotiations, some contract negotiations can kind of happen here as well. All right, we got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? I feel like probably the ones that are going to luck out the most during this transit will be Virgo risings and Scorpio risings. Just intuitively, we love to see Venus in Pisces. She's exalted there. We love to see Venus in the 7th house. That's where she can really do her best work and kind of connect with other people. So you're having this transit in your opposite sign in your 7th house. And my single Virgo and Virgo risings, I hope you guys are paying attention, because some really big stuff in your love life is about to begin. Venus going into the 7th house, making that conjunction with Saturn, which is the ruler of your 5th house. For some people, you're going to meet a younger person and fall in love. For others, it's going to mean that, you're in a relationship and you're realizing you're committing in a more serious way, having kids, getting married, talking about long-term plans together. 7th house is the house of partnerships and marriage, but it's also about your relationship to your marketplace, your clients, if you have things, or the things that you sell or services that you offer. And what you want to watch for is that relationships are going to go to the next level. So relationships can face some tests of commitment or highlight where responsibilities lie. So new partnerships can start with a serious tone. And I would just say if you're in a committed relationship, it's about addressing issues head on and a time for setting or redefining boundaries in relationships. Now, all of this is being connected to Jupiter, okay? So it's going to be more about responsibility in relationships. What are we doing? What are our long-term goals? Who's working where at what time? Who's responsible for the house or the kids at what time? You know, that kind of stuff. Or how are we working together? How are we building a business together? That can be kind of coming up for some of you guys as well. And that'll get reworked obviously through the retrograde. But Venus rules money in your chart, Virgo. It's also about your faith and your philosophy and your belief system. So there's going to be something reworked about your relationships, which is either going to be costly and legal. So some of you guys with the eclipses will be getting out of a marriage or a relationship. And for others, it's going to represent a time where your belief about marriage and commitment and partnerships is shifting and you're wanting to be more so invested in it. So it depends on your personal transits. But deal with problems head on. Be mindful that this can be a time where somebody is coming into your life who you're meant to meet. And it could represent somebody who's a little bit more committed or mature in relationships. Okay? Let me know, Virgo. I want to hear it happens. All right, Libras and Libra risings. What's up, Libra? Your chart ruler's on the move. So you and Taurus are the ones who are probably going to have a little bit more turbulence with this transit. You're going to see it several times over. You know, Saturn's been in your 6th house of health, habits, and routine for the last almost 2 years. You're going to have an eclipse there in the fall. You're having retrogrades there. So this is the beginning process, Libra, of you prioritizing your health, making changes when it comes to work, where you're working, how you're working, what your schedule is like. If you haven't been working, going back to work. Maybe there is a new office space. There's going to be more of an emphasis on, you know, working with new employees. Venus is you. And it's also connected to your 8th house of emotional, psychological, things connecting to detox, healing, finances, all that stuff. So Venus conjuncting Saturn in the 6th house of health, work, and service, what you want to watch for is just like, honestly, work can feel more demanding and less enjoyable. Health routines can become more disciplined, but also potentially restrictive. And you want to find joy in your routines or service. So this transit can help you establish healthy habits, but be mindful of not becoming too self-critical, especially with that South node that's in Virgo. Now, Saturn is connected to your 4th house of home and family. So this is about taking care of your emotional health. This is also about taking care of older relatives, taking care of pets, things in regards to, you know, kind of getting all of these things organized. My advice to you is just really pay attention to your health, because you're still going to be having retrogrades there in the springtime. And then you're also going to be seeing eclipses with the North node that are going to be there for the next year and a half. So that's what you really want to prioritize during this transit, especially anything with your feet, your digestion, changing your schedule, and any changes that you're going to be making to your diet. Getting into healthier habits and being aware of where you're kind of self-sabotaging some of your health because of your work habits or your lifestyle. Okay. All right, so we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are going to experience Venus conjunct Saturn in the 5th house. Well, like I said, I think this will be a little bit easier for you because obviously, you know, the 5th house is a house that deals with romance, children, creativity, right? And with Venus conjunct Saturn in the 5th, you know, what you want to watch for is that romance can get serious. There can be an I love you, or meeting somebody who you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is the one. Getting serious about dating again, getting serious when it comes to, you know, relationships or even children. But relationships generally take on a serious tone here, and it's less about thrill and it's more about commitment. So creativity blocks or the need for discipline and creative pursuits can come up, but it's important to invest time in creative projects and, you know, do so with persistence. And in love or matters of dating, look for depth and maturity rather than just passion, right? We don't want to just be letting, you know, chemistry and passion take over. There's this sense of, are they, you know, good in the relationship long term? Can I see myself committing to them? Can I see myself having kids with them or marrying them? That might be kind of coming up. Now, Venus is connected to your 7th house of long-term relationships and commitment, and it's also connected to your 12th house of the subconscious. So you could be confronting some of your relationship fears. And if you're doubting yourself, if you're not really loving yourself or feeling very confident, that can be kind of coming out and actually impact your ability to meet somebody, date, or have harmony in a relationship. So a lot of inner child healing. But if you're a creative, you know, you make music, you make content, you make media, you're involved in film or photography, anything like that, it can be really great for some of your creative stuff. And also playing instruments and being able to kind of write and create music that can be very soulful with this transit, okay? All right, good luck, Scorpio. Let me know what happens. We got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? You're going to experience Venus conjunct Saturn in your natal 4th house in the sign of Pisces. So this is going to be in the house that deals with home, family, property, your past, and your roots, okay? So Venus Saturn is usually an older woman in the family. It could be an older relative, it could be a grandma, it could be an older sister. You know, that can come up, so watch for that. But this can also be like your love for your home, your love for your family. So what you want to watch for is family responsibilities or domestic issues kind of coming to the forefront. Relationships with parents could feel more formal or more challenging than usual. And to to kind of navigate this time, you want to strengthen your bonds with your relationship with your relatives through commitment, and maybe consider some home improvements that are practical or long lasting. Now, Venus will retrograde through this part of the chart, so not the best time for buying a home unless you're buying something that passes an inspection, you know there's no water damage, and you're ready for a complete overhaul or renovation, which you may consider doing in the spring. So be careful knowing that retrograde is going to be kind of coming in. Now, Venus conjunct Saturn is about what you're buying, investing, or purchasing when it comes to your home. So some of you guys are going to go, okay, I'm investing money into buying a house, or I'm renovating something, or I want to get new furniture. I would say be conservative with your spending. And it can also be a time where, you know, you may be able to get some stuff from family. Family might give you money, they might give you furniture, they might give you art or other things that you can kind of use to kind of decorate your home. And this is where I think a relationship with a relative is going to be tested. Now, Venus is connected to health and service. It's also connected to your friends. So if you have like a project you got to do at home, you might be, you know, having friends come and help you paint a house, or they're helping you move, or, you know, they're helping you install furniture or things like that in your home. And your goal is what looks to be making a place that's beautiful and comfortable and kind of like a Zen den, but also something that is organized and it's got some kind of like nice flow to it. So watch for those themes throughout this transit, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to experience Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces in your natal 3rd house. Now, Venus is approaching you, your Saturn. So this means that something good is coming for you, Capricorn and Capricorn rising. The 3rd house is about communication, contracts, vehicles, travel, and siblings. So if you have female siblings or female aunts or cousins, you might be talking to them more, hearing from them more in some way. What you want to watch for is conversations or relationships with siblings or neighbors becoming more serious. They may be approaching you for some support. They might be asking you for your leadership in some way. There can be really important meetings and stuff that you're having at work or contracts that you're signing. My advice to you is just be clear and honest in your communication and use this time to mend or structure relationships with those in your immediate environment. Now, Venus is about work and leadership or responsibility. It's also going to be about creativity. So if you are a parent, you're parenting in a much more serious way. If you are you know, at work and you're a manager or a business owner, you know, you might be issuing a formal statement saying that there's going to be a meeting, sending out some kind of new contract or agreement. But this is a wonderful time if you want to start doing some creative writing, or you want to work on a website, or you're wanting to launch a business. You might be making like some kind of an announcement that something new is coming in regards to these things. All right, and we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You will be experiencing Venus conjunct Saturn in your 2nd house of money, finances, resources, and self-esteem. So Venus is in a sign she likes, she's in a house she likes, and this is important themes revolving around money and what you value. So with Venus conjunct Saturn here, you want to watch for financial commitments because they may require your attention. There can be limitations that are coming up in spending or challenges in generating income from what you love, but because Venus is meeting you, I think that your belief in your philosophy about things is changing. I think it can mean that you're like, actually, I can do well with less. I don't need as much. I can make the sacrifice willingly. I can be more generous. I can give to others.
Venus is connected to your 4th house of your family, and also the 9th house of beliefs and education and travel. So some of you guys might be spending money on your family. You're sending kids to school, you're, paying bills, you're, making changes to your home or your property. But this can also mean it's a time where you're realizing like, okay, I'm not just going to expend on everyone and everything, only the things that I feel like I can afford, and also the things that I feel like are, a part of my value system. So for some of you guys, it'll be tightening the belt. I'm spending less money at home. I'm eating at home more. I'm not going out to eat as much. I'm traveling less, because you have some kind of goal. And I'm wondering what the goal is. Do you just want to have more, liquid money that you can kind of have that you can spend? Do you have a goal to, buy a house? Is there some new financial responsibility that's kind of coming up for you? And this is the time to really focus on, I think, your self-esteem, and be taking care of yourself, and, really focusing on what is truly valuable in your life, and know that good things will come from this conjunction. It's just going to take some patience and some hard work. All right, and then we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. Oops, there you go. What's up, Pisces? So you guys are going to do the Venus-Saturn conjunction in the 1st house. So for some of you guys, I think you're going to be committing to new goals for yourself. Okay, so it can be aesthetic. I want to look this way. I want to slim down. I want to tone up. I want to treat the wrinkles. I want to color the gray, because Saturn can be about aging. But it can also be about loving yourself while you go through some process. So while you're in a transformation process, while you're healing, while you are, aging, this can be about accepting it in a graceful manner. But it's also, I think, for you guys, about being more serious about your the way that you present yourself, or how you express love. There can be a sense of restraint or criticism regarding your appearance and your self-worth. So you got to watch for that. Don't be too critical on yourself. Be nice to yourself. Love yourself throughout this transit. And embrace self-love, so that way you can better work on your self-esteem. And it's a great time to set personal boundaries, or redefine how you want to present yourself to the world. So with Venus, being connected to the 8th house of transformation, and the 3rd house of communication in the mind, you might be totally transforming the way that you look at yourself. And that's going to, I think, be amplified through how you're talking to yourself, and how you can, look at yourself and think about yourself. And your mind is probably on change. So one thing to think about is that you are going to be having an eclipse in March in your 7th house, and then you're going to have retrogrades in the 1st. So a lot of you guys are like, what's best for me? What do I need? How do I express my boundaries better? Some of you guys might be thinking about like a complete overhaul in your appearance, or, changes, or even like a makeover of some kind. You may start the process of this now, and if you start doing that, whether it's the self-love or just changing the way that you look, you're going to really see it come full circle in the spring. I do think that with Saturn being involved, it's also this serious commitment to your goals, and like being like, if I love myself, I will uphold these boundaries. I will maintain these commitments. I will do what's best for me. And I'm giving you like the green light to be a little bit more selfish now with all of these planets in your 1st house. And the more that you're in alignment with what's best for you, you will find that the right relationships, the right people, the right opportunities will actually find you. So focus more on what's best for you, and then you will start to kind of see that come in the spring. I hope that's helpful for you guys for the week ahead. Obviously, as always, leave me your comments below. Let me know how you're feeling with this just jam-packed week, and what your experiences are with Venus conjunct Saturn, how you guys fare with that full moon. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Any interaction with the channel really helps it grow. I'll be here on Friday doing live readings at 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, 7 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. We'll be doing live tarot. So we'll be posting that in the community tab if you guys want to join in. Also, if you're still in need of calendars for 2025, I've got you covered. We have got digital and printed 2025 astrology calendars, and personalized digital calendars with transits. I'm now booking in April and May, so if you guys want to get a reading in 2025, I recommend booking one. Or if you want to learn tarot and astrology, I'd be happy to work with you and teach you in 2025. So for all of this and more, check out the links in the description below at beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter. I promise I won't spam you. It's just to let you know when we have new stuff coming out on my website. I'm working on webinars right now for the eclipses as well as the Mercury-Venus retrograde and everything going on with Saturn and Neptune changing signs. So I've got probably at least 2, if not 3 webinars that are going to be happening in like the next couple of months. So if you guys want insight on some of those topics, sign up for the newsletter and you guys will be alerted as to when it's coming out. I'm really excited for the Venus retrograde webinar. There's gonna be lots of goodies in there and lots of remedies in there for you guys as well. So I'll keep you updated on that. Until next time, I hope you guys enjoy your week and I will catch you back here on Tuesday. Take care.